By sampling portions of habitat on, in, and along the Mississippi River at Winona, PhD student Monique Reed of the University of New England in Australia is hoping what she learns will help save rivers around the world.
We're doing this research on the Mississippi River because of the fact that it has a wide variety of habitats that we can assess, and then we'll be able to use that information on a lot of different rivers because the principles will be similar. So it has international significance for rivers around the world too.
Well, we're interested in floodplain lakes and backwaters because they're part of the overall Upper Mississippi River network, and we want to better understand their dynamics and how that relates to what goes on with the river itself.
So the main focus of my PhD project is to look at the whole ecosystem of the Mississippi River and try to understand what are the main environmental factors that drive the function of the river. So when we go out in the field, we collect everything in the food chain from the base carbon source, which is things like algae, right up the food chain through invertebrates, macroinvertebrates, fish and turtles. And we take samples of each of these components of the food web, and then we come back into the lab and we process these samples and we send them away for analysis and basically get a big picture of how the whole food web works and what are the external environmental factors that drive food webs in the Mississippi.
As a student, we are going out and we're helping out with all the projects on the boat. We are doing water quality, picking bugs, picking zooplankton, even electrofishing for fish samples. Electrofishing is where they have these big booms on the end of a boat which sends a current into the water that kind of shocks the fish a little bit so they're easier to catch, so we can net them, and we just take a little tissue sample so that can be taken back to the lab. We've caught a huge flathead catfish that was 33 inches and 15 pounds, so that was quite an adventure.
In terms of overall water quality, the Mississippi River is very good, much better than it was 20, 30 years ago. We still have issues with nutrient loading and sedimentation, but the overall quality that we find in the river and even in these off-channel habitats like the one behind me is still very good.
Although we haven't got results back from this study yet, just from my experience out in the river, you have amazing diversity here in the Upper Mississippi. It's quite healthy, and I've been talking to a lot of local scientists who say since the Clean Water Act was introduced in the 70s that the river health has been steadily improving, so that's a positive. There is still issues with contaminants in the sediments, but a lot of research has been done locally to combat that issue.
One of the issues that we notice in the Mississippi River is we see a lot more extremes now. We see very low water periods, we see very prolonged high periods like we did this year, and that's some of the things that are predicted in rivers for climate change. And that's a characteristic naturally of the Australian rivers, is that they're highly variable. Long periods of drought, long periods of flood, and so it gives us a way of saying, well, what might we expect in the Upper Mississippi if climatic conditions continue to change?